Welcome into the post-report update. Scott Fine, host of This Week in Missouri Politics. Published a few papers. You can see some of them behind me on the screen. Thank you for joining us. Very, very grateful on this Friday. It's not even a midweek update, but I mean, how do you not? There's so much news going on. You have to have some kind of update. I'm fresh off the show we just taped, so all the crazy Greitens news that happens after now, we'll do like a Monday update maybe. But the show's in the can, being sent to TV stations, Mediacom, watch it there. Well, I give everybody time to welcome in, get logged in for a midweek update. You're not even going to believe this shit. Let's start off with the report. My God. We have some fun here, more fun than we have on the show, but I mean, that is stunning what was in that report. I don't... I thought expectations were being built so high that they would never be able to be met, right? I thought it just wasn't, there was no way to meet the expectation level that was there. Well, they surpassed it with that report. I couldn't, poor woman. I don't know. I mean, who would have thought she went through that kind of torture and things? And I get the sense after it's over, and following the story relatively closely, that that it maybe was a guy that found a woman that was vulnerable at the time, and maybe the type of guy that knew who he was preying on. It's a sad situation. It's sad that for all involved. I got a piece of breaking. I mentioned I did McGraw-Milhaven yesterday. At the deposition where Philip Snead was an unredacted copy of the transcript of the testimony that was given to the House committee. So I've called around the House. The Greitens lawyers never asked for it. They never asked the House for it anyway. But they did. What they did do was they found there was they was given to all the committee members. The report that you read now has a redacted form on it. The one that you can read otherwise is not redacted if you're a committee member. So somebody on the committee, theoretically, has had to provide the Greitens legal team or Greitens himself with this. So where that matters is, one, that's a little disturbing about some inner workings on the committee. But two, he knew what was in this report. He knew what was going to be in it, and he let the state go through this. If you've ever been a critic of Eric Greitens and you wanted to be validated that he just didn't give a damn about the state or anybody that works in it, the fact that he put his ego so far first. Some of them said this is a Me Too moment. This is not a Me Too moment. Eric Greitens is not a Me Too person. He's a me only person. It's all been about his ego the entire time, and no criticism could ever ring like knowing this was going to come out, knowing there's no way that anyone would want to have him as governor after this and not caring. Either he's getting the worst advice in the history of advice, or he just doesn't give a damn, and I probably say the second. Let's talk about that response. Oh my God. So those of you that know, I am the Eric Greitens Oracle. We reach down into the stein of knowledge. We have different Anheuser-Busch steins for every show. Yes, I can do many, many shows and never repeat one. I am a collector of Anheuser-Busch steins. There is no Anheuser-Busch in there, though, unless we do one of these at night. Then there probably is some Anheuser-Busch product in there. A little water. But I look down into the stein of knowledge every time. You can watch the news, or you can watch these updates, and you know what the news is a week later. I called everything Eric Greitens. I know what Eric Greitens is going to do before Eric Greitens knows what he's going to do. The staffers that work for Greitens, they all like to watch this. They have these troll Twitter accounts. And I'm glad you're watching. Please don't log off. I don't know which exactly ones, but I don't know exactly which ones. But they all watch this. They like to go on a Facebook where you can't tell. They'll log on one of their troll Twitter accounts, and so they can watch these. You don't have to go to staff meetings. Just watch these updates. I'll tell you what Eric Greitens is going to do before he does it. I always have. Now, no one's ever been able to predict anyone. I am the Nostradamus of the Central West End. I know everything Eric Greitens is going to do. I always have. Look, watch the videos, and then go back and read the news. You would think that I've read these videos and backdated them if you don't watch these things, because I know. So his response, I told you he would attack the legislature, attack everyone. Some of you are like, oh, Scott, you've been right so many times. You've known everything Eric Greitens has ever done. You knew he would be the worst governor ever. But he's not going to do that. That would be suicidal politically. I'd be like, no, he's going to do it. I looked in, stein of knowledge, predicted it an hour before the report comes out. What does Eric Greitens do? Again, you can watch the news or you can watch these updates. I will tell you everything Greitens will do. He attacks the legislature. Oh my God. I mean, holy shit. I almost respect the balls of it on one thought. But that probably if you started ranking the dumb plays in Missouri political history, show me a dumber one. So what I think probably happened is that's like the Austin Chambers crew in there saying, fight, fight, fight. They're all career politicians. And you have his Missouri consultants who are like, oh, God, what the hell? So when they get done, funnily enough, he attacks the legislature. And look, if you watch this, you observe Todd Richardson was not a happy guy there. If you were at caucus and you're a Republican and you were saying, but the Plessy versus Ferguson verdict says Eric Greitens is great, or the Brown versus Board of Education says you have to never impeach Eric Greitens, you had to be like, oh my God, this guy's nuts. So if you're still there, here's one, drink one for the Cosby caucus. Let me just tell you, I will make the next prediction right now, right here. Look into the Steinem knowledge. The next thing Eric Greitens is going to do is try to have a women's event. I am not kidding you. He's going to call around and try to get women to stick up for him. Remember when he called around and tried to get a woman to stick up for him? He tried to call Ann Wagner. Ann Wagner is not the one you push around. You don't bully Ann Wagner. She bullies you. There is no pushing her around. He tried to call her and she wouldn't return. Well, Ann Wagner returned his call Thursday morning, pretty straight out. So he's going to call around. Did you see the picture? I think they had to take it down, actually, because if you think this person and this administration should be signing legislation for you, one, wow, you've got problems, and two, they made these poor people. They went and specifically got women that were in HR or something and made them set for a picture with him. How insane. These women look like they were hostages. They look like the last was the world they wanted to be. So I think what he's going to do, can you imagine going home and telling your husband, yeah, I showed up to work today, and then, the guy from the mugshot, the boss, he made me, have to get into, he made me go in a room where he gives some stupid speech about something I had to sit through. And your husband's like, oh my God, that did not happen. She's like, no, it's on his Twitter feed. And then I think they had to take it down because, of course, the whole world's like, what the hell? What are you doing? But anyway, it's just like when I told you, or Rachel told you in the report that they had a big meeting and made all the comms people say, well, you're not getting good coverage. What's wrong with you? And they all looked around like, is this person is nuts? And then, of course, that's exactly what happened, and tweets have confirmed it. I am the Greitens Oracle. I can tell you what's going to happen. He's going to try to now go get women to have some little rally for him or start. They've started at the top, and the people that are calling me are like, you're not going to believe this shit. I just got phone called by different political folks, different folks in the administration saying, come to something, be on stage, clap. It is insane. If you're a state employee and you don't want to have to go to the Eric Greitens thing, I have some ideas for you. I would first say that you're watching a Cubs game that day because he's a big Cubs fan. Cubs supported him. I would go Asian flu. Don't go regular flu because they might not care. I would go Asian flu, maybe bird flu. Maybe go bird flu to get out of having to be at the Eric Greitens is not really a creep rally. We'll see what happens, but that is the next thing they're going to do. They're down to last stands. The whole debate in Jeff City now is not when do we impeach him or not how do we? Because wow, it's does it happen before or after the court case? So the special session thing is sort of a way to not let his folks run out the clock. The big argument is, do we have the vote before or after? And that's the big fight. And who knows? I'm not sure who will win that fight. But I do think two things happened since that caucus, and that's the kind of the timeline they agreed to. One, Eric Greitens' pre-response, was to not even call them back. He wouldn't even call the legislature back when they were trying to call him earlier in the week. Then he has a thing before theirs and attacks them, and now the Missouri consultants came in, if I had to just guess, came in and tried to water that down and say, we really don't hate the legislature. We really don't think you're corrupt career politicians, although we've spent $50 million calling you that. We didn't mean that. We meant you were confused, and it's George Soros' fault, and it's Cobra Commander's fault, and it's Skeletor's fault. And what was the guy on the Smurfs? Anybody in the comments? Who was the evil guy on the Smurfs? We should work him into the crew. Anybody in the comments? No, I think it's Gargamel. Gargamel. Good call. Thank you very much. Gargamel's fault. Gargamel. Bad dude. Totally doesn't like Greitens. It's not his fault. My favorite Eric Greitens play, though, is to make up things no one said, and then say, well, there was a rumor that I was making out with Skeletor, and that's just not true, because I clearly was not making out with Skeletor. I was in court, one of my court hearings. And then he says that, so everything's a lie. No one's saying you made out with Skeletor. So he'll make up these bizarre things. It's a communications tactic they do. It's a diversionary thing. There are people dumb enough to fall for it. Yes, there are. There'll be a vote on this at some point, and you'll probably find out who. But they'll try to make up, oh, I was at my kid's soccer game. That's why I'm late. And then people are like, soccer game was canceled, right? And then it's like, oh, I didn't say that. It's Eric Greitens. If you've ever been called a corrupt career politician, I'll bet I know who called you that. And I'll bet you know what it feels like when Eric Greitens tells bald-faced lies right to your face. I'm a big fan. Just kidding. You all know. Next topic, we'll see. But that is their next move, I think, is to try to somehow get some women to stand around him. And look, there's a lot of them they're paying. They have some at the state party. They have different consultants, have different folks. There's one Senate candidate that is just I don't know why you would need her and a consultant in the room to be a senator of the Senate. Just give the consultant a proxy and have them hire him. That'd be the move. Instead of letting it. But there will be some women that will come to this rally. And if you want to see the creepiest looking rally in the history of mankind, go to Greitens Creep Fest. I assume they're trying it over the weekend. I'll bet it'll be Monday or Tuesday when they have Creep Fest, and it will be the creepiest Creep Fest in the history of Creep Fest. You're not even going to believe this. I hope it's open to the public because I don't want to personally go, but I have to admit, just like all of you are watching this, I would watch Greitens Creep Fest via some video link from many blocks away, because I would think, all you bachelors out there, you're probably not getting a date if somebody gets a picture of you at Greitens Creep Fest. That is probably not going to be your play for the weekend, kids. Next topic, David Humphreys. The Oracle of Missouri politics, the one I told you. David Humphreys was actually a principled religious guy. I told you. Told you so. I'm not the kind of say I told you so, but I am exactly the kind of guy that looks at this time knowledge and says, I told you so. David Humphreys is actually a religious person. That is not just shtick. That is not just gaming. That is not just political posturing. He actually has religious convictions. You can disagree with him on labor issues, like I do. You can agree with him on almost everything else, like I do. But David Humphreys is a very successful guy who employs a lot of Missourians, and he actually is religious. Those things are total crap. Go watch some of the people that are now hiding under their desk, or some of the people that'll thump their religion at you are now like saying that, and yes, Nick, I am saying he might pander, and that are now the ones saying, "Oh my God, he's can't believe this." They're for him. They're the ones that'll thump their Bible at you. Keep an eye on those folks always. David Humphreys actually means some of the things he says. If you have no faith that anyone in politics is actually means the religion part, you can look at David Humphreys, and there is some truth to that. So Humphreys comes out and says, "You got to go, man. This is done. We're not doing this anymore." The Stan Herzog money was something that had been very helpful to him. I don't believe Singfield money was really in there, and then the Humphreys money was kind of it made it more than just one large donor funding some of these things, and give it a lot of credibility. Because look, I'll tell you what, nobody's gotten more bang for their buck than David Humphreys in Missouri politics. I didn't really like when he was attacking other Republicans, but I got to say, the guy, when he put his money into helping, he has been a winner, and they have changed the landscape of Missouri politics by their very intelligent political spending. I mean, look, they are. They make it happen. Humphrey says you got to go. Big deal. Big deal. Because the rumor was, oh, if you're anti-Greitens and you tell anybody, they're going to spend money against you and they're going to get your primary opponent. Well, I actually know one legislator that someone was telling this to while my tweet came up that David Humphreys was not with the Greitens anymore. This person is actually threatening the legislator while my tweet gets posted, and they turned the phone around and was like, "There's fun." The other legislator goes, "Well, is he sure? Because he doesn't know Humphreys that well." Well, no, I'm pretty much sure that was the quote, and we were proud to break it to you on the Twitter feeds. Thank you for following. You want to hear another good one? So Ann Wagner. Talk about the ultimate hypocritical situation. They're trying to get Ann Wagner to sign off on Eric Greitens as a creeper. I'm telling you, you don't bully Ann Wagner. Ann Wagner bullies you. She is not the wallflower. She is not the one that's just gonna. She's not part of the Cosby Caucus. Ann Wagner is. If you're unsure, she is sure. She is the ultimate leader. But here's an interesting thing. Ann Wagner just called for Greitens to resign yesterday morning. I'm going to look into the Steiner knowledge and bring you another fact. When the government shut down once, a lot of the members of Congress gave their pay to charities. Guess what charity Ann Wagner gave her pay to during one of the government shutdowns? That's right, the mission continues, which leads us into the next thing. If you thought that report was gnarly and terrible, then you're a normal person. You're not an insane person or someone paid to think things or that takes directions from people that are paid to think things. The mission continues is the next thing up. I think this is what look, I have no idea. That report didn't mention whether his phone was hooked up to the cloud while he was doing all this 50 Shades of Psycho stuff. I have no idea at the trial if they can prove his phone was connected to his iCloud account. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I break laws, really. I don't really know much about them. But anyway, you look to the next thing. It's this list. I mean, here's the thing. He knew it was wrong. What's he, a Rhodes Scholar or something? Went to Oxford, not the one at the Grove in Mississippi, but the one over in England. And good for him, but he knew it was wrong. He stole the list. The AP reported that they have a copy of the email from his secretary to the campaign guys. Hey, I've heard this Danny Lobb guy, who's the key to is in Iceland. You can't make that up. I think the guy's in Iceland. Now, I don't know. If I could get deposed, I'd run to it. I'd do it that night. I'd be like, what y'all boys doing this evening after the Cardinal game? But Danny Lobb apparently not so much one to talk. He goes to Iceland. How you make that up? I couldn't make it up. So if you're watching, if they have Facebook live stream in Iceland, Mr. Lobb, good to see you. Get paid well, buddy. Get paid well. So it's either did Crystal Taylor just steal the list? Did she have on the little kind of raccoon-looking mask? And did she, look around and make it? No, I think probably her boss told her. And here's another factoid. She's listed as an endorsed witness. I think you're going to see in very short order Josh Hawley, who I called it, Jane Duker, enjoy your crow. We are going to roll out the finest accoutrements West Butler County has to offer when we entertain Jane Duker. And I promised you guys, I promise you, I know you want to see this. I will put it on the stream that you're watching right now when Jane eats her crow, or the cell service, because we don't have rural broadband, is not that great. So if I can't do it, I will record it and I will upload it when I get to the top. There's a hill in West Butler County that gets real good cell service. I will upload it to our platforms then, but we will live when Jane Duker has the ear crow, because I believe Josh Hawley is coming in like the man with the backbone. I think the guts, and let's just say the stones he's exhibited the last couple weeks, he's going to have back problems. I don't know how he doesn't walk hunched over now. I think Josh Hawley comes in here and says, I'm not the partisan guy, I'm the prosecutor. I think he comes in and ends this fight next week. And I think all the people that are like, I see some legislators that are like, well, I have watched up to 7 episodes of Matlock, and in my special training, and I watched 2 season finales of Law & Order SVU, so I'm an expert. In the landmark case of Brown v. Board of Education, I think Hawley comes in. If you didn't believe the top elected lawyer in the state that there's impeachable offenses, stick around next week, kids. We may have more than one midweek update. I think the mission continues stuff breaks then. And then I think if you're still on Team Greitens, wow, dude. You could probably have that next meeting in a phone booth or a small gas station, or maybe like a van. That's probably more your style if you're still on board, if you know what I mean. Maybe you get like one of those ice cream whistles kind of thing. So I think that's what probably happens. And I think we're talking about like a next week or week after thing. I don't think we're talking about it taking a long time. And at that point, I think even whatever's left of even the paid people will be like, okay, I'm out. And I think the people that are wanting jobs, I do think Greitens probably takes care of a few of them, issues them appointments, or tries to help them out as best he can. I'd say there's one senator that probably is going to a veterans thing, but I think he's such an honorable guy. He's going to that anyway. I think whoever the governor is going to be like, well, you're great for it. A couple House guys, that may be a bigger problem, but we'll see what actually happens. I guess the question that coming out of that report is, does this fit the pattern that you know? The bullying, the name calling, the bizarro blowing stuff up, the calling people corrupt. Let me ask you this. Does that fit the story I wrote about Bill Eigels' time when he, back in January, first few weeks there, I don't write a lot of stories because I can't spell, but I wrote a few things about that, and does that fit what the story I told you about Bill Eigel, the story he's never refuted? Does that fit the story that I told you about Denny Hoskins? Does that, some of the things you read in there, does that fit with this behavior? Does that fit the story I told you about Paul Whelan and we brought you on the show? Beady little eyes and threats and belittling. Does that fit the pattern? Well, let me ask you one other question. Does what you read in that report fit the phone call you heard between John Bruno and Eric Greitens? I think it does. And I think if you don't have anything except a shiver down your spine or a queasy feeling about what he must have done to that woman, you, sir, are a weirdo. Tell me how that doesn't fit that pattern. I think that there's a very big choice here. I think that anybody looking for legalese, if this was before office or whatever, I think Clark, I even made a joke, I think Clark may look bad in this, Jim Clark, the head of the Ethics Commission. I think Clark may end up looking very good because I think they may also include that he lied on that deposition, which we all know he did. And Clark may be the guy at the Ethics Commission that used to write real ethics laws, that he may look very good in this. And it be that statement he wrote that under penalty of perjury or oath is now going to be proved to be a lie. And I think if that's the case, and I think Jim Clark should be right in that room when they write real ethics laws, which I think they will after this. Steiner knowledge, hashtag. But I think did all those things fit that pattern? I think Republicans have a real choice. Pardon me while I sip a little more from it. Republicans have a choice. When you go in that caucus Tuesday, are you going to be part of the party of the past and Eric Greitens? Are you going to be hanging on for some consultant, Mickey, or are you going to be, what? Are you part of some? Are you the person that's didn't get a chance to get on the Titanic in New York Harbor, but's going out there now that it's hit the iceberg and trying to get on? Or are you going to grab on and be the party of Josh Hawley? Because I think that's what we're seeing here. I think you're seeing we're seeing two young leaders, one about 10 years older than Hawley. You're seeing different styles. Josh Hawley did not come from politics the traditional way most of you watching this are familiar with. He kept to it a little differently. But I think you're seeing the future is Hawley, the way he's handling himself, whether he wins the Senate race or not. And I think you're seeing the past, those that are clutching their pearls and clutching on to Eric Greitens. And if I were you and I was in that caucus and you were afraid, I would be more afraid not to be on the party of Josh Hawley. Not that he's going to bully you or threaten you or call you corrupt, but just that he's going to want people around him with spines and backbones and track records of clear thought. I would be more worried about not being on that team than I am what a fading end of his career person whose dream was being a career politician on his list. Last thing, this week on the show, Scott Dickhouse, Kathy Conway, whose stock has risen faster than Kathy Conway. Now she was a criminal investigator, so some of these things she was able to know and see, but I mean still, to her, Gretchen Banger, Jane Duker, thank you for coming. One thing I'd like to know. Watch the show Sunday. I'm going to be on with Mark Reardon at 2 o'clock. It is Mark Reardon's birthday. Please, everyone, tweet and text Mark Reardon, happy birthday. Be on there with Greg Keller. I know I'm going to wear a hat because I get so intimidated by Greg's hair. So I'm going to hat up before I go on. But we have Jane's always in there, Freddie Bottomer. I'll be on KMOX Monday morning, 8:30 with Debbie Monterey, Charlie Brennan. We were all kidding with Charlie. Charlie, I learned so much about radio. I learned more about radio yesterday than I ever have with Charlie Brennan, Mike Kelly, John Hancock, how Charlie devil's advocated like a pro. He was the devil's advocate yesterday. Great. I went in there thinking, what? And then it kind of hit me. I get what he's doing now. I was a slow guy in the room, but that's not a role I'm unaccustomed to. But I got to ask you, I love your comments. Missouri Mailbag at TWMP.tv. What about a book? What if we wrote a book? What if Rachel, let's be clear here, what if Rachel and I wrote a book about this whole thing? Would you buy it? Would you read it? Would you give me some information on it? I think it's such an interesting time in Missouri history, and had some people whisper it. I'm sure they were being nice, flattering me because the Cardinals had lost that day. But give me some feedback on the comments, DMs, whatever, when I see you at the Rotunda. Love to know if you would read a book about this. I think it's probably book worthy. Until then, we'll see you Sunday on This Week in Missouri Politics. This afternoon, KMOX 1120, Voice of St. Louis. Go Cards. Stein of Knowledge. Hashtag.